Hello, my name is Corinne Murphy, and I would like to share with you some of my thoughts about stewardship regarding Church of the Advent here in Cape May, New Jersey. I find it very interesting how all of us here at Church of the Advent have gotten here through different paths. My path, my journey probably began in the late 1950s, 1960, because I used to come down here for 1 week every summer, and I stayed at the Holiday House over on Hughes Street, being a lifetime member of the Girls Friendly Society. Then as I got older, my family also came down here for 1 week every summer, and we stayed in West Cape May at an aunt's house, and we always came to Church of the Advent to worship. Therefore, Church of the Advent has become a home away from home, so to speak, for me. Now, as a retired senior citizen, it means even more to me. It has created a foundation that helps me make very important decisions. And during this year of 2020, all of us have been faced with situations that we just never dreamed of before. Socially, racially, economically, just decisions that we've had to make. It's felt so good to have the church there as my solid foundation that I can rely upon to help me make those decisions, to help guide my path. So at this point, I hope as you consider stewardship for Church of the Advent that you will continue or decide to give more time, talent, and money to Church of the Advent to ensure that those programs and activities can be ongoing. Thank you.
Stewardship in the Church of the Advent means giving God your first and finest. We need to give because God is worthy of our gifts, and that gifts puts Him first in our lives. It's easy to give God our leftovers that cost little in our life. A gift that honors God is one that requires sacrifice because it is the gift that reflects our hearts. We give Him our finest since that's where He belongs in our hearts. So let me tell you about the spoon and the ladle. Our culture drives us in life to be focused on serving ourselves. So we use a spoon to feed ourselves. We need our lives to focus on serving others. We should approach stewardship as using a ladle. A ladle feeds others. At Advent, the ladle does feed others literally, but when you give and serve others, the Spirit of God is with you. So in your stewardship, please, no leftovers, and always remember to use a ladle.
Hi, my name is Deborah Lukens. I've been coming to Advent for 20 years, and I'm currently serving as junior warden on vestry. It is that time of year of stewardship when we ask ourselves what it means to be a steward of God. I want to tell you about my grandmother, who to me led the life of a good steward. At the age of 17, Mama came to America from Poland in 1912 in search for a better life. She met my grandfather, who also came to America in 1913 at the age of 20 from Poland. They married and settled in Elizabeth, New Jersey. My grandparents began living the American dream. My grandfather was a butcher, and they ran a very successful grocery store. They had 3 children, owned their own home, and were pillars in their community. Devoted Catholics, my grandparents were very instrumental in establishing St. Hedwig's Roman Catholic Church in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Life was good until it wasn't. During the Depression, people were hungry, and my grandmother would sell groceries on credit. She was so giving that eventually they lost the business. During that time, my grandfather was assaulted by a competitor, and suffered brain damage. They lost their daughter Helen at age 20 to elephantitis. Following the war, my uncle came home, probably suffering from PTSD, and became an alcoholic. I share this with you because as a teenager, I wondered how Mama lived through all this heartache, how she continued to be positive and putting other people's needs before her own. As As an adult, I realized she managed by never losing her faith in God, never losing her love for God, and focused on the blessings in her life. With what little she had, Mama was always giving, always wanting to serve others. As she aged and could not physically attend service, the priest would come to her home to pay regular visits. I remember Mama keeping an envelope in her safe where she would collect $1 or $2 to put in that envelope to give to the priest so she could continue to support her church. Mama dedicated her life to serve others and to support her church financially, even with the few dollars that she had. She led the life as a steward of God. As you reflect on your own stewardship, I ask you how you might serve others, especially during this crazy time in our world. In terms of supporting your church financially, how full is your envelope? I ask you to think of Mama and reflect on how God is calling you to live more deeply in your role of being a steward of God. Thank you.
Let me first of all thank all of you who have maintained your pledges throughout this terrible pandemic. I was thinking about my stewardship and what it means to me. To me, stewardship is the maintenance of the gifts that God has given me, and it is when I fill out my pledge card and my envelope is a thank offering to God for those gifts that I return to Him either monetarily or the gifts of the abilities and time that He has given me. When we do this, we are returning to God a portion of what He's given us. He's only asked for 10%. I have the gifts of time, talent, and treasure, which I've tried to use to the betterment of our programs and ministries here at the Church of the Advent. Thank you for your attention.